Coming to you live at the GAMA Trade Show at the Peppermill Resort and Casino in Reno, Nevada, Twist Gaming! Now take it away, Matt. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Matt, and we are coming to you here live from GAMA 2019, bringing you all the board game coverage all week long. And I am joined here with Sarah from Renegade Games. Sarah, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
First and foremost, how's Reno? How's GAMA?
You know, it's actually very nice. We got some snow yesterday. It's sunny and nice today, so I'm happy either way.
It is really nice out, and I can't wait to finally leave the hotel room and go check it out as soon as we're done with this interview here.
Yeah, and it's wonderful just to get to be here and see all the retailers. They're really such an important part of the industry, and this is where we get to hang out with them. It's a pretty special time of year, actually.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, what have you brought to show us today?
I brought a few very exciting things. Today's theme is going to be roll and write games because we have two of those.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so the first one is Lanterns Dice. If you've ever played Lanterns before, there's going to be a lot of very familiar stuff going on here. This is a standalone game. It's not an expansion or anything like that, but it will feel familiar to the Lanterns fans. So we ready? Get started?
Let's just jump right in.
Let's do it. Okay, so in this game, the first thing you're going to do is roll these wonderful big chunky dice into our tray. Yeah, they're heat transferred, and they have the little logos of the lanterns that you would recognize from the original game. Mm-hmm. And similarly to the original game, when you roll these in here, they make a pattern of 4 different colors.
Right.
If we were playing with 4 people, then each one of these colors would be pointed towards a different person, and then that person would collect that color. In just a 2-player game, I still get to turn this so that it points towards you and me at the same time. So in this case, you can see I have a green lantern over here pointed towards you and a white lantern pointed towards me. So that means that both of us simultaneously will get to mark on our own sheets. We'll get to mark off those colors.
So we're not filling in the same thing.
We're not.
That's okay.
Yeah, it creates quite a bit of difference between our sheets. And then, of course, there's some bonuses for the person whose turn it is. And, for example, this is the first turn of the game. So on my sheet, I actually even have a different sheet than you do. You've got A and I've got C. So I'm going to get to fill in any green space on my board that I like, in addition to the white space that I already got from rolling.
Okay, so showing that off on mine then. So apologize for the see-through green ones.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But so on my first turn here, is this what they're saying, that I'm going to gain a red as well?
Yes. When you're the active player, you'll get to mark off any red triangle that you want to mark off.
Gotcha. But in the meantime, I'm marking off a green triangle.
Exactly. So actually, just go ahead and do that. We'll show you how it works in the meantime. So if you go ahead and mark off a green one, I'm going to go ahead and mark off a white one. Okay. And I can show you what happens when I mark one of these off. So because
are you just shading it in? How are you doing this?
Yeah. Do you want to show that one?
Oh, where'd you do it? I don't even see. Oh, that's what you did. Okay, that makes sense. So you shaded it in right there.
Yep, and because that was actually next to one of those circles, that means that I get a gift. And what we're trying to do is make this beautiful lanterns creation in a lake to celebrate the Lunar Festival. And the Emperor is going to reward us for making this beautiful thing by giving us gifts. And so when I mark off a triangle next to one of those circles, that indicates that I have one available gift that I can spend. We each start with one. They're tracked there on the bottom of the board.
Oh, okay. That's what that is there.
And when you mark off a triangle next to one, you get to fill in another circle.
So since I marked my green one off there, then I'm going to go ahead and mark off this circle as well then.
Yeah, so you just color in that center part, and then you can spend those gifts. So now you've got 2 because you started with 1. Mm-hmm. And we can actually spend those on these additional bonuses that are up here in the front.
So I'm going to go ahead and show these off. And these have 3 different dot values on the top. I'm assuming that's the cost for the gifts.
You got it.
Oh, that is see-through.
They're quite yellow in real life, but we'll pretend that you can see them.
So
essentially,
shade 1 additional area matching your die.
So you got green, so you can spend that. And it doesn't matter whose turn it is. You can always spend your gifts whenever you'd like. And they do become more expensive.
Shade 1 area of a color not shown on the dice.
Yeah, so, and that's of any of these. So we had red, green, yellow, and white. Well, you could shade a blue because that was not represented on the dice we rolled.
Gotcha. And then finally, shade 3 areas matching each of the 3 other dice.
So that's a pretty big bonus. It's expensive, but that's a really good deal because then you get, let's say you had green this turn, well, you would get to shade a red, a yellow, and a white in addition to the green that you already shaded.
Gotcha.
So if you save up, it's pretty good.
One more question for you here. What's this square that's on this one here?
That's an excellent question. So there's 3 different symbols you'll notice on your board. We already talked about what the circles are. Those are the Emperor's gifts. The squares are a bonus similar to the platforms that were in the original game. These ones, when you fill in both of the triangles that surround that square, you've finished that platform and you get to fill in 1 additional triangle on any of the connected areas.
Oh, that's cool.
So it gives you a lot of options. You can complete something that you were having trouble completing. You just didn't roll the right die. That gives you a little bit of a way to get out of that.
Perfect.
The last thing that we didn't talk about on your board is the boats. In the original game, the boat was just a way to help us keep track of whose turn it was, what the last one was placed. But in this one, you want to surround those boats. So if you can fill in the spaces orthogonally adjacent to the boat, then you'll get an extra 4 points at the end of the game. You can't cover up the boat if you want those points, but sometimes you just have to make that hard choice.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So we've both gone ahead and filled in our 1 that we got from our dice. Mm-hmm. Because I'm the active player, I'm going to fill in 1 additional 1. And where you pick to fill in on your board is very relevant because the other thing we're going to do to try and get points are use these fireworks tiles. Once we have filled in enough spots that match one of these tiles, then we get to take the tile off the top of the pile and cover that part of our board up. So if all of these spaces were filled in a pattern matching this one, I could take that and then I get those points at the end of the game matching that firework tile. You actually only play with a few of these each game. I put all of them out there just so you can see all the different shapes, but you would just pick a few and there are suggestions in the rule book for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That seems pretty straightforward then.
Yeah. Do you want to play through a couple more turns just see how it goes?
Let me see if I can
do it on your own.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
I think you've got it under control, so
I hope
give it a
so.
shot.
All right, so I'm the active player now.
Yep.
That means I get to roll some dice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's the fun part.
Oh, I like these.
And you just wiggle it a little bit, and they should all
right,
go
so
in there.
Yellow for me, purple for you?
You can turn it however you want.
Oh, I can turn however I want.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
any of
interesting.
these dice that you want, you just rotate it, and then maybe you really want a green.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that because I think I wanted the green one.
So you can rotate it to benefit yourself. You can also look around and see what other people are doing and rotate it depending on what they need if you want to play that way.
Gotcha.
So it can be quite competitive.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and... You know what? Actually, no. I'm gonna rotate it this way. I want the purple.
Oh, Twist Gaming needs purple.
Exactly.
Yep.
I don't know what I was thinking before.
That's right. All right, so you give me a yellow, you get a purple, and then you also, as an active player, will get that additional bonus.
And so that is the red then that I'm getting.
Yep.
All right.
Excellent.
Very good.
Okay. And then if you wanted to, you have a couple of these gifts.
I sure do.
End of your turn, you can spend them to do one of these special bonus actions if you like.
So shade 1 on an area. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 2 of my gifts. So do I just cross them out on my...
Yeah, you can just put an X in there so that you've used them however you like.
So then I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to pick the blue, which since it wasn't used, and then because it was, I'm going to shade in this here.
Yeah.
So then, since I shaded that one, the platform I get to use, which gives me another shading option?
Yeah, exactly. So you get to shade a tile that's adjacent to the one that you just shaded.
Okay, so then if I shade this one here, I'm going to gain a gift then?
You do.
Nice.
You can definitely combo into some fun things in this game.
Perfect.
And it looks like you were working on, if we were playing with this piece, if you want to show that off, you're getting pretty close to making that firework.
Getting close to making the L.
Just got a few more in there, and then
I'm going for the boat. That's what I was.
you
going
also
for
are
there.
doing good with the boat. And then there's this piece. It's actually worth quite a bit of points, and that also would work with your boat plan.
Ooh, 6-pointers.
Oh, if you move it over just a little bit to the right,
There
you
we
go.
That's what I meant to do.
So that's where you'll want to put, but of course you can't put it there quite yet. You've got to fill out a few more of those little places.
Not
but you're
that
getting
many
close.
more. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
All
Nice.
right.
All right.
So just keep repeating that back and forth. What is the end condition there?
So that's a great question. On each one of your turns when you're the active player, you're going to fill out one of those triangles as your bonus action, and we just go, depending on the number of players playing, a certain number of turns that everybody gets the same number of bonus actions, and then the game is over.
Okay. So 2 through 4 players, we're going to 6. 3 players, we're going 7, 8. 2 players, specifically 7 through 10.
Yeah, so if you're playing with 2 players, you'll get all the way up to 10.
Okay.
Get a few extra turns. So yeah, you just follow this pattern on there, and you'll know how many turns you can take.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that is Lanterns Dice. Where can we go to find more information about Lanterns Dice?
You go to renegadegames.com, and you can also find us on social media at Play Renegade on Twitter, Play RGS on Facebook, or Renegade_games_studios on Instagram. And we've been posting lots of beautiful pictures. This is coming out in May. We also really encourage you to check with your friendly local game store. We're doing some special promotions with them too, because we announced it this week. This is really the week when we celebrate our friendly local game stores.
Absolutely.
So if you do pre-order this from them, they're going to get early before any of the online stores do, and they're going to get special bonus tiles. So they're going to be a whole other set of these fantastic fireworks. They're going to be in a different shape, and that's a great way to say thank you both to our fans that support their local retail stores and to those stores who provide space and fun for our fans.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Then I see you brought something else here. Is this more roll and write action?
Yes,
Awesome.
I love roll and writes. So.
I haven't noticed.
So we couldn't keep ourselves away from them. But that's great because they're a really easy type of game to play with almost anybody.
Right.
I can pull these out and play with my nieces and nephews. I can play with my mother-in-law. It's just a great type of game. They've all played, Yahtzee or something like that. This is just the modern equivalent of that. And I really especially like German roll and writes because they take that to a whole extreme level. And Hex Roller is no exception to that. It looks like such a simple, straightforward game, but the choices that you make are really challenging. And then it's over really fast and you can do it again.
All right.
And, of course, you get rollouts of dice, which I'm not going to complain about that.
I meant to ask you about Lanterns Dice. What is the time limit on that, or the estimated play time on that game?
It's about 30 to 30 minutes or so is
Okay.
how long it's taken me to play it. And I think that's a pretty good estimate. And it does go up to 4 players. If you're playing with all the way up to 4 players, it's maybe going to be a little bit longer, maybe up to 45 minutes.
I gotcha.
Yeah, but not too long. You can definitely play a couple sessions of it in an evening. And so that one goes up to 4 players. One great thing about Hex Roller is you can play with this with as many people as you can get together.
So infinitely expandable, as you're saying.
Yeah, the box does say 2 to 8 players. Actually, 1 to 8 players. You can totally play this solo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is a big deal recently. I've been really surprised at how many solo games or how many games are including a solo mode. And we're even putting out a solo-only game called Proving Grounds later this year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're excited about that one. I think it's a little bit different in that we really just doubled down on that and wanted to give people that really great experience.
Very cool. So show me Hex Roller now. I know you're saying this is a little more strategy. I'm a little concerned because I see a lot of numbers on this, and this is reminding me of my math class.
Oh, no.
So
this is a finished board. That's after I'm done playing to help explain some of what's going on here.
Gotcha.
So we have these fantastic wooden dice, and each round we're just going to roll these and then split them up by types of numbers. So we've got pair of 8s, pair of 6s, pair of 4s, and then 1 5 and 1 6.
So question
so in case you can see this.
Yeah, a question to you here is, so I'm seeing that there's some 7s and 8s on there. That's not your typical D6 numbers. So
That's true.
do these dice have the same number set on each die, or is each one different?
Every die is identical. The colors don't matter. It even reminds you that in the rule book. It just makes them prettier. And they are 3 through 8 instead of 1 through 6.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit different. It makes the math work out a little bit better. But basically in this game, you're going to roll the dice, and then each player individually will just decide which 2 sets of numbers they're going to write onto their board. So you and I could pick the same numbers. We could pick different ones. Doesn't really matter. That's why you can play with as many people as you want. So let's say I pick the 2 8s and let's just say actually the 2 4s here.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I don't know if you want to show one of these sheets there.
Sure.
Then I would have to write in 2 8s that are connected to an 8 that currently exists. And there's 2 of every number on the board to start with.
There's an 8 here.
Yep.
There's an 8 here.
So I can write on either one of those 8s connected to that 2 more 8s. I would do the same thing with the 4s. And there's a whole bunch of different ways that this scores. And if you look at the left-hand side, I'll kind of walk you through those, and hopefully they'll make a little bit of sense.
Okay.
So the top ones are just bonuses that you can use. And if you don't use them, you get extra points. We'll talk about those at the end. That next one, it's a little hard to see on the screen, but those are each the different colors corresponding to those different groups that look like honeycombs on the board. So there's one of those that's a purple, there's a yellow one, orange, blue, pink, so on.
Okay.
And for each one of those different hexes in that scoring area, you're going to write into that the number that is the most common in that group of hexes if it's finished. So for example, if you look at the purple that has that 6 in the middle, if that whole area was filled in and the most common number there were, say, a 4, you had 3 4s and maybe 2 6s and a 3. Well, then you would write 4, and that's how many points you would get.
Okay.
So for each one of those hexes you go through, and if they're filled out, you get the majority number in points. That next one is the center area. So you see orange, that's a little bit special. You actually get to double whatever number is the most common in that area if it's filled out.
I'm guessing that's because orange has the lowest numbers within its area.
Right, but you can spread out. So if you started, say, at the 7 up there in the pink, you could just go straight down connecting your 7s. And you might want to do that because the next scoring area is which numbers you have connected from the starting numbers on the board. So if you're able to connect the printed 5 with the other printed 5, then you would get 5 points.
Oh,
so
that to that.
Connecting or filling out the ones in the middle, usually it's not too hard to fill those out, but making them the numbers that are high enough that they score well can be challenging. And you'll notice that all of the numbers are on opposite sides of the boards from each other. So it's difficult to do more than a couple of those because they're going to start intersecting each other.
Right.
So you really can't do, for example, like the 7s and the 8s. There's just not a way to make that happen.
You could go all the way up there if you really wanted to.
You could go all the way around. But then once you've done that one, how do you do, say, the 5? So it starts getting trickier and trickier. You can usually do a couple, but not all of them. So that gets us to the second to last scoring thing on there. Then that last scoring area is a little bit interesting. Every time you take a couple of these, a pair of dice, you're going to write down in those bottom boxes, if you go straight down from there, you're going to write down the numbers that you took. So let's say you took 8s and 4s. You'd write down an 8 in that top column and a 4 in the bottom column, right below it. Okay. And what you're trying to do is make runs. At the end of the game, if you start with, let's say there's a 3 in there, anywhere, it doesn't matter where it is. If you start with a 3 on one of those rows and you can count all the way up to 8, then you'll get 8 points. If you start with 3 and you can only count up to 6, you'll only get 6 points. And that is related to which dice you take during your turns. So it's another thing that you're trying to balance while trying to do all these other different scoring things at the same time. And that can add up to a crazy amount of points.
Yeah, this is a very large number of different things that you can do here, and very thinky.
Oh my goodness, this is a big puzzle.
Yeah.
It looks like a relatively simple game. The rule book is just a few pages, but oh my gosh, there is a ton to think about with every single decision you make. And there's 2 different sides of this paper. One side says 8 on it, and the other side says 7. It just has to do with a smaller or larger number of turns. So on one side, you're going to get 6 turns. On the other side, you get 7 turns. 7 turns does make it a little bit easier to make some of those things happen, but it's also a bigger board, so then you have the challenge of things getting in the way of each other.
Gotcha.
So you usually have higher scores, but you can really mess yourself up.
Very cool.
Yeah, you want to take a few turns and see if you can figure this out?
See, this one, I think so. Maybe. We'll find out.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how I do here.
Okay, excellent. So let's just go ahead and roll these. Do you want to roll them under the camera?
Sure.
We can all look at them.
We're going to have some invisible dice here.
That's okay.
Let me just put that out there. All right. Oh, boy.
They just look purple. It's fine.
We got a 4. So we got 3 4s.
Oh, nice. Yep.
We've got, 4 4s.
Oh, there's a hidden one. Super hidden one.
2 7s, a 6, and an 8.
Nice. So independently, we are each going to pick which numbers we want to write down. And so, for example, I really like all those 4s. I think it might be nice to connect my 4s. You said there's 4 of them?
There sure is.
That's a lot of 4s. Okay.
That's
so
a lot of 4s.
I'm going to write my 4s on here. You have to write all 4 of them. If you choose 4s.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also 2 7s. So I'll put 4 there. And then 7s, I'm just going to put at the top of my, my score sheet.
I liked what you're doing there. So I'm sorry, I'm going to copy that.
That's fine. Usually that doesn't happen, but that's okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the 4s there. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my 7s, I'm going to do 1, 2.
See, you actually did do it differently than I did, and that might make a really big difference at the end of the game. So even though we picked the same numbers, we still ended up putting them in different places, and then we're going to record which 2 numbers we took down there on those bottom
So does it
rows.
matter which ones you put on top and which ones you put on the bottom?
Not the first round, but you're going to want to try and have every number in the top and every number in the bottom. So for the next round, you're going to want to think about that and try not to duplicate. Because you're trying to make full runs of the different numbers, but you have to start at 3, and as soon as that run is broken, that's a number of points you get. You can't go any higher.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So it rewards you for taking the 3 then.
Right, and the lower numbers in general.
Right.
It does balance it out a little bit. So that was turn 1, and we're both playing on the larger number of turn side. That's okay. And so we'll roll these again, and I'll put these up here. Maybe we can see them on that side. So we've got 3 6s, 3 7s, a 5, and a 4.
All right.
And got more 7s. That's great. So, but if you put the 7 on the bottom row like you did the first time, now you've duplicated your number. So you're going to want to record the 7 on that top row if you take it. And I'm going to try and connect these 7s if I can.
Okay. So.
And I also like those 6s. We'll see if I can connect the 6s.
There's 3 6s, 3 7s, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to do that. Cool. I think I got it.
And we would keep going and then score at the end. And
All
we've
right.
got all those different scoring things, so it does get a little complicated. But I think for most part, you get the gist of it. And this is actually coming out in late April. We're really excited to be able to carry this game. This designer is amazing. So he also did Nations and Nations Dice, which are 2 of my favorite classic games. And it makes sense because this looks like a simple game, just like Nations Dice, but it really isn't.
Yeah, this one, it's gonna have some number crunching in it for sure.
Yeah, and for just $20. So it's a really easy, viable price point. I think people will be able to pick it up, play it a whole bunch. There's tons of paper in there, and they're all double-sided.
Well, I love the fact that it's one of those games that it's infinitely expandable. You can play with like a huge group of people. It's one of those where I find it really interesting to bring to conventions because you could really get yourself on a PA system and have a whole mess of people doing it together. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Sarah, thank you so much. Is there anything else coming out from Renegade that you wanted to talk about today?
We have so many fun things.
Yeah,
we're doing announcements like crazy this week because it's a great time to tell people about what we're up to. We have lots of good partnerships. If you join the Renegade Society, then you'll get all our newsletters and find out what we're up to. But another couple really big exciting things we have coming out are Bargain Quest. That one I really love because you get to play as a shop owner and you're selling items to adventurers who then go and fight monsters. And if they go out and they're successful and they kill the monster, that's great, you get some points. But if they die, you still made money from all the stuff they bought from you. So, it's fine either way. So that one is coming in May. We're really excited about that one. And then, of course, we already talked about Proving Grounds. That's coming out as well. So we have a lot to look forward to coming up this summer. We're going to be at some really fun events. We're going to UK Games Expo and Origins. Ooh. So as well as PAX East, which is coming up very quickly.
Right around the corner.
So if you're going to be at any of those events, we would love to see you.
Very good. Sarah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
And thank all of you for watching at home. That's going to conclude today's coverage here from GAMA 2019. But tune in tomorrow and the rest of the week as we continue our coverage, bringing you all the board games all week long. Signing off for tonight, I'm Matt. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks.